So when you run a business, it's really easy to get wrapped up in the day-to-day busy of everything. And I think that sometimes we need to stop and think, have we created the life that we wanted for this? Or have we inadvertently created a life that we're trying to run away from, trying to escape from? And what I mean by this is, if you get to the end of your day and you're finding yourself you're desperate for something to take your mind off how your day's been, so maybe you binge watch TV shows, maybe you enjoy a couple of drinks, maybe you do something else. Are you trying to escape from the life that you've created for yourself? And if so, what are you doing? How are you going to fix this? You can't go through your life as a business owner wanting to escape from the thing that you've created. Now, this isn't to say that you're not going to have stressful days. This isn't to say that it's always going to be, crazy, happy, fun times. There's always going to be challenges. But if you're ultimately wanting to create something brilliant and create something that serves you as a business owner, and you're finding yourself desperate to escape from it, like desperate not to be in it, you're going to need to take yourself back a few steps and have a real look at what's happened, because you've probably made a few decisions along the line that have taken you down a path and now means you're working something that you hate. And that is not a great place to be in. I like to talk about stress and stressors as a bucket. So we have our bucket, and all of us have some stresses in our life at all times. No one's got a life that they don't have any worries in. And let's say that our bucket's kind of, full to maybe like a 7 or something, 6 or 7, and it's manageable. You're walking around with your bucket, it's not overflowing, it's not spilling out onto things, and it's not too heavy. You can walk around with this and you can deal with it. If you then have more stuff put into your bucket, which takes you to, let's say the top of the bucket's a 10, takes you to an 8, to a 9, to a 10, that bucket's going to overflow. So there's 2 ways to handle this. You can either stop stuff going into the top of the bucket, or you can poke holes in the bucket so that it leaks out and you've got more space at the top again. And how you handle that is up to you. I'm always a fan of trying not to add extra stress into the bucket, but sometimes you can't avoid it. If you're going through periods of growth in your business, or if you're going through times of personal development, sometimes there will be stresses. Sometimes those stresses are self-made, and sometimes they're completely external. COVID was a really good example of everyone's buckets having a couple of extra points thrown into them, and that was no one's fault. We just had to handle that. So in those scenarios, you have to poke holes in your bucket. Now that might be that you do meditation, you have a hobby, a physical hobby or an intellectual hobby that you love. It might mean that you carve out some time to spend time with friends, family, dog walking, whatever it might be that you love doing that will help poke the holes in the bucket. There's a big difference between doing that and literally trying to escape your life. If your business is in a space where you want to escape it at the end of every day, or the life you've created is something you regularly want to escape at the end of the day, then you really need to look at how that has come about, and you need to take urgent action at how to remedy this. You can't go on living a life that you want to escape, and you don't deserve it. You deserve to have a life that you love. You deserve to build a life that you love. So if you're in a scenario where your day-to-day work is making you miserable, where you're feeling unseen and unappreciated, and that's meaning that it's not just poking holes in a bucket, that you want to literally run away from the whole thing, take some steps. First thing to do is to be really honest with yourself. Be brutally honest. Do you want to, sometimes we reach the end of the road with something and it's just time for a complete change. And that's okay, because that's personal development, that's growth, that's all that good stuff. Sometimes things, relationships, jobs, roles, sometimes they naturally come to the end of their life. And for things to end because of personal development and growth is actually something quite beautiful. It's not something to be sad about or to grieve. You'll grieve it a bit, but it means that you've moved on, you've grown, you've expanded, and sometimes things have to end. That's okay. Or if it's not something you want to end and it's not something you want to leave behind you, but you recognise that you can't go on in the current format, be brutally honest. Where did these issues come from? When did you start feeling like this? How often each day do you feel like this? What are your triggers that make you go from feeling all right to really kind of down in the doldrums? What are those things that trigger you into that frame of mind? And then what is your response to it in the moment? Is your response to bury your head in the sand? Is it to self-medicate? Is it to ignore it? Is it to fly into a rage? What is your response, and where has that come from? We often don't react to things in the moment. We react to things from what we've learned in the past. So there's probably been instances in your earlier life or in earlier career that will affect how you react to things now. Try to identify where it is that you're reacting to that from, and just see how that feels. I'm a big fan of writing this stuff down. Keep a tally of how often you feel like it. See what the triggers are. And once you know that stuff, you can start addressing it. Now, none of this happens overnight. This isn't a quick fix, because you didn't get here overnight. You didn't go from having a life you're really happy with to one that you want to escape overnight. This happened gradually, drip by drip by drip. And suddenly, maybe watching this video, you're coming to the realization that, you know what, things aren't great right now and I need to make some changes. The good news is you've made that decision now, and now you can do something about it. That's the first step in all of this. But it's not going to be an overnight process, and this is going to require discipline and commitment to change. However, it will change. If you've made the decision to change this, you are watching this, probably a business owner or somebody high up in business. You have the ability to make these changes. You have all the skill sets you need to build a life that you no longer want to escape. So today is your permission. Today is the first day that you're going to look at your life and look at the things that are not bringing you joy and are actually doing the opposite of joy, are making you want to escape your life, and go, okay, I'm going to stop building a life I want to escape, and I'm going to start building a life I want to actively be present and live in, and that every day brings me joy, and every day brings me excitement and challenges and development. So today's the first day you're going to do that, and good luck on that journey. Like I said, it won't be overnight, but you can do it. You have the skill set you need to do this, and bit by bit, just like in the way you got here, bit by bit, one day you'll wake up and realize that you're living a life that you love, and that's going to feel really, really good.